Hi, we are ready for our campfire story tonight, and tonight we're telling the legend of the hummingbird. Now, I don't know exactly where this legend came from, but from my understanding, it was created by some Native Americans who oftentimes told stories and legends to help explain the things that they didn't understand in nature. And who knows, it could have even been Native Americans who lived right up here on this land where Camp Verne is. We don't really know. But this is the story of the hummingbird. And this story takes place a long, long time ago when all of the animals could all talk to each other. And it was daylight all the time. And it was always light, and the animals were friends, and they talked and they played, and then they started to argue. And the antelope said, "Well, I'm better than you because I can run farther." And the cheetah said, "Well, I run faster than you do." And the owl said, "I'm the wisest, I'm the best." And the eagle said, "I can fly further than any of you can run. I'm even better than that." And they were arguing, and they were arguing, and the Great Spirit was up in the sky, and he looked down and he said, "What have they done? This is this creation I gave them, and look at them. They're just fighting and arguing over everything." And so he made it completely dark. There was no light at all. And the animals came together for a meeting, and they said, "Oh no, what have we done? We've angered the Great Spirit. What are we going to do?" "Well, I'm so sorry." And they all started to apologize. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. You know, I can fly farther, but maybe someone else can do something else." And they started to talk to each other, and they truly were sorry that they had been fighting. And they decided they needed to send somebody to go talk to the Great Spirit and to tell him they were sorry and ask for their daylight back. And so the antelope said, "Well, I can run a long way. Here I go." And the antelope took off running and running and running and running and running, and finally turned around and came back and said, "Nope, it's too far. I couldn't get to the edge of the darkness." And Cheetah said, I bet I can do it." And Cheetah took off as fast as he could. Run, 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 run. But, cheetahs are fast. But he couldn't go far enough. Didn't get to the edge of the darkness. And he came back. And they said, "What are we going to do if we can't tell the Great Spirit that we're sorry?" Eagle said, "I know. I'm going to fly all the way up to the top of the darkness, and I'm going to talk to the Great Spirit." So he flew, and he flew, and he flew, and he flew, and he came back down. He said, "I just can't do it. I couldn't get there." And the animals were all sitting around talking, and this little voice came up and said, "I'll try." And they were all talking, and it was little Hummingbird. "I'll try." And the other animals said, "Oh, Hummingbird, how sweet of you, but no, you're too small. You can't do this." "Yeah, I want to try." And so, you know how fast a hummingbird beats his wings. He beat his wings and beat his wings and flew and flew and flew, and he got to the edge of the darkness. And he pecked a teeny little hole, and he fell back down to earth, asleep. He was exhausted. He said, "Okay, no, it's all right. I've rested a little bit. I'm going to go again." And Hummingbird went to the edge of the darkness again and again and again and again, pecking a little hole each time, but couldn't quite get through. Finally, he took a good nap. He said, "Okay, I think this is the last time." And so he flew and he flew with all of his might, even though he was tired, and he pecked and he was so tired he wanted to go back down to earth, but he knew he wasn't going to be able to come again. So he kept pecking and pecking, and he stuck his head all the way through the edge of the darkness to talk to the Great Spirit, and he fell back down to earth, and he was dead. And all the other animals came, and they gathered around little Hummingbird. And they all felt so, so sad and so, so sorry. They said, "Look, the very little of us, and look what he did." And he didn't just go one time to the edge of the darkness. He went again and again and again, just because he wanted to help all of us. One person. And the Great Spirit was looking down through that hole that Hummingbird had pecked. And he saw that the animals were truly sorry. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you back the light half the time, but then so that you'll never forget this lesson, I'm going to leave it dark half the time as well. And not only are we going to leave it dark, but we're going to leave all those little holes that Hummingbird pecked, and that final big hole where he stuck his head through, so that you'll never forget when one of your friends sacrificed everything for everybody." And so when we think about that, and we think about what the Native Americans were probably trying to explain with that. And we think about the stars and the moon, but we also think about what they were trying to teach as they were teaching their own children. And you tell that story to teach their children about sacrifice and about taking care of your friends.